Welcome to the Dork Forest. Jackie and her pals will never bore us. Shameless confessions
about our obsessions
will make us laugh and smile. So let's explore the Dork Forest and dork out for a while.
Hi, this is Jackie Cation. Welcome to the Dork Forest. I am at Acme Comedy Company, Minneapolis, Minnesota, their 20th anniversary. And it's my home club. It's my favorite club in the country. And some of the greatest, my favorite people are headlining as well. So I'm going to have a bunch of different guests. You know the websites, JackieCation.com, thedorkforest.com, dorkforest.com. There's a donation button. Please use it if you would. And freakingawesomenetwork.com is very fun website with reviews of animation and comic books. And the credits are, I have a new mixing board, so I'll see how Patrick Brady fixes the audio. And then he's great. And then Vilmos fixes my website. Mike Rickberg sang that song you heard. And I'm just going to use this intro for all of this weekend's interview. So thanks for tuning in, and let's get started. Guess what? Still at Acme. Still, it's the Acme weekend, 20th anniversary, and I'm talking to every awesome comic that I'm working with this weekend. And now, sitting in my hotel room, Bengt Washburn. Welcome
Hi.
to the program.
Hi. Oh, thank you for having me in the Dork Forest. Finally.
Dork, 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 dork. I know it. Very
I'm supposed to say
exciting.
dork, dork, dork.
It's, it's awesome that I've been able to talk to everybody because we're having the time of our lives, man.
Oh, yeah.
This has been a very nice so far day and a half.
Yes.
And
2 more days to go. We got to pace ourselves.
Exactly. And we get to see people that we haven't seen in 1,000 years. And it's always great.
Yep.
You, Bengt Washburn, B-E-N-G-T.
B-E-N-G-T.
That's it. Washburn.com.
.com. Yeah, that'll work.
That'll
or
work.
Or getbent.com. But I like bentwashburn.com's easier. Yeah.
Okay. And then, and they'll be linked on the show. And you're stand-up comic, and you're originally from, the great state of
Utah.
And now you live in Germany.
Yeah.
With your lovely wife and 2 children.
That's right.
And she's in the service. And, Air Force?
Air Force.
Air Force. There we go.
Yeah, you are good.
I know. I reckon whenever anybody says I'm thinking of joining, I always say Air Force. They get air conditioning.
Yeah.
The bullets are further away.
Way further away.
And, that's the way to go.
Yep.
And
you're giving good advice.
what the heck, I think. Cause, one of Andy's nephews, or his, young cousin, essentially, he's 18, has signed up for the Marines. And, cause he desperately wants to get out of his tiny town in Mississippi, and God love him. We all want to get out of our tiny towns. There's no lock on the door. You could just leave Etta, Mississippi. You don't have to join the Marines.
I know, but there's this, my brother-in-law's a Marine.
Yeah.
My father-in-law's an ex-Marine, well, they're ex-Marines. And
Right.
there's just a certain...
And they get to continue to just be Marines. I guess you're Marines forever. Like my
Yeah.
dad was in the Marines.
Constantly.
But he
yeah.
wasn't really in the Marines. He was in the Navy. So, cause he was a medic. And the Marines don't have their own medics. They get them from the Navy.
Really?
Yeah.
So they borrowed him, did they?
Yeah, all of the Marine medics are Navy medics.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah,
'cause I would think the Marines would invest in something like that.
Right, because they're out there in front.
Yeah.
You're going to need a medic. And my dad always says, you know, the Navy gets their medics from the Marines get their medics from the Navy. I didn't when I enlisted and became a medic. And so 6 years hanging out with the Marines.
Wow.
And then Vietnam started, and my dad was like, well, you guys have fun. I'm going to go sell aluminum siding for a living.
Became a conscientious objector.
Yeah, and he was very conscious.
yeah.
He wasn't even, my father's rarely conscientious.
Oh, yeah.
He's not very thoughtful at all.
I know. He was the one you were telling me about selling the siding to the brick house, was it?
The brick people.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he loves that story. He's like, you know, that wasn't in South Milwaukee. That was in Racine.
Yeah,
nobody's ever heard of Racine. There's a lot of correction. But what I like about you, Bengt Washburn, besides being a fantastic stand-up comic, one of my favorites, quite honestly, there are DVDs, right? There are CDs people can get.
CDs. DVDs I sold out, and I haven't redone one. So.
All right, so they're collector's items if you got one. So what I like about you, besides you're a great comic, is that you also are well-read, and you're a Renaissance man.
I am?
I think of it. I am?
I guess
I am.
I am. I am unemployable.
You are unemployable in any other capacity.
Yeah.
But so when you travel, you like to go to art museums.
Absolutely. That was my first, I was an artist. Or I don't know.
You study art when you were
I studied art.
In college?
From a very young age, I wanted to be a painter.
Okay.
And an artist or a comedian.
One of those two.
I did, but I chose.
You could be both. Just think of like...
I could fail
right.
at both very well. Sure.
Or have the modicum of success in both that you have.
Maybe, but...
Do you ever paint now?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I did.
I've seen some of your art on Facebook you've posted.
Yeah,
a little
tiny,
bit.
like, right now I'm just doing little tiny landscapes. They're realistic paintings. That's I grew up with that tradition in Utah, where I grew up. It was always very realistic painting.
Sure.
You know, figurative painting. I always tell people it's like they like their art, I would say, traditional, like Norman Rockwell, but not that dark.
Okay.
That's what I tell people. That's too dark.
Is that too dark?
Oh, I think so. They're more of a Thomas Kinkaid.
Okay.
You know, the crap with...
The crap that matches your couch?
The crap that matches your couch without the... Kinkaid always paints the cottages with the light and the swirling snow and the horse and carriages and... You know what I mean?
It looks like it belongs on a card.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you've sent a card that no one's ever going to keep?
Ever.
Right
to the
Please
trash.
don't keep those cards.
Crappy painting.
Wait, does Thomas Kinkaid, is he that guy with like a series of art things at the mall?
You go to the mall and it's that horrible, and then the person nabs you and he has a big, look how much these are going to go up in value. Really? According to what? According to the pamphlet we print. You know what I mean? And they just reprint a pamphlet. It's doubled in price. It's a lot like, I guess, the way the Fed runs and the way our banks work. I guess it's all the same.
That's your other hobby, is paying too much attention to the news.
Yeah.
Let's talk about art.
Yeah, let's do. Much better. Mm-hmm. So yeah, art I studied that starting, undergrad.
Yeah.
I wanted to do comedy, but I honestly felt that art was more compatible with my Mormon upbringing because I didn't know anything about art. I mean, I literally didn't know when I was making this decision that in New York, probably that same moment I said, I should do art. There's like a guy like squirting blue paint into his colon and pooping it out onto a canvas. Literally.
Okay, so you thought
live.
When you were going to go into art.
I thought it was much more compatible with Mormonism. I had no idea.
Because it was going to be lovely and gentle and supportive and community.
Yeah, you do things that...
a bridge building moment.
Yes. And the way I grew up, art was a well-executed cliche.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Beauty wasn't a mystery. Beauty, we know what beauty is, and this is what it is. This is the topic, and you put it up there, and people say, wow, that looks real.
Yeah. And you've made art.
Yeah.
Because that's what that bridge looks like, and then you painted that bridge.
Yeah.
Nice work.
Exactly. Or people like, wow, look how his eyes follow you in the room. That was very important.
Oh, right.
You have a picture of Jesus, lots of Jesus paintings.
Right.
It's Mormon, but it's still Jesus Mormon. It's
right.
Mormon Jesus.
The Mormon Jesus?
Yeah, it's like typical Jesus paintings, they get this kind of old, suffering look.
Okay, the Catholic Jesus.
Yeah, my wife's Catholic. And the Catholic Jesus some of them are creepy.
Right.
Like, flat out. Have you seen the one when his heart is floating outside of his body? He's levitating his heart, and it's wrapped in like barbed wire.
Yes.
And it's like, what are you doing? And then he's got this look like,
you
whatever.
You did that to me. You did that. That's what that says. It says you ripped that out of my chest. It's brutal. And
that's what that is.
Yeah.
The Sacred Heart painting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to tell a joke about that. Where I say, I think I know who killed Jesus. It wasn't the Jews. It was Jack the Ripper. Because he pulled his heart out and wrapped it in.
It's an episode of Bones. It's an episode. You know what? Bones could tell who did it. And but I will say that because a lot of that. When I went to Europe, both times, I've been to Europe. Very glamorous. My life is very. Yeah. But I've been to Europe twice, which is more than some people
glamorous.
have. Yeah, it's more than. And so, but we went to Italy for my honeymoon a year afterwards, right?
Where in Italy?
We spent 8 days in Venice and 8 days in Florence.
Florence.
We just paid it off.
Firenze. Huh? Oh, just now? So you went to the
5
Uffizi.
years. Yeah, about 4 years.
And you saw
ago.
the Botticellis.
Mm-hmm.
Unbelievable.
Here's the thing about the Uffizi. Andy Ashcraft, my husband, also has an art degree and knows a lot about art. And I said to him, we can do this. We can have a nice breakfast, or we can have this continental breakfast they give us at the whatever. And then I will go to a museum or a church. Then I would like a nice lunch. And then I will go to one more museum and church. I will go to 2 touristy things a day. And then right around 3 o'clock, 3 or 4 o'clock, we have to get a cup of coffee, have a nice sit down, have a nice cup of coffee, and then we'll come home, maybe a nap, and then a nice dinner, and then go to bed by 10, make sweet, sweet love, and then do it all again tomorrow. That's a honeymoon to me. And he was like, so not that this was his main thing, but he's like, we can go to 2 a day. And so we went to one museum and one church each day. And I saw a lot of the suffering Jesus pictures.
Over and over.
Where by the end of it, I was like, I can't see. Someone get that man down.
Yeah.
That looks painful. And, but it was beautifully rendered. And a lot of the stuff wasn't that. I mean, there was a lot of other art.
Yeah. When you go to like the Uffizi or to Italy, you get overloaded with just like
too many. You're just like, and Uffizi itself is too big to do in one day.
Yeah, it is.
And it's like going to the Met or something like that.
It's a lot of art to take in. You really get overload.
Right.
And it just starts looking.
And by the end of it, you're like, another Degas, another Botticelli, whatever.
Yeah.
And then, Andy, very angry, because we only did the Uffizi that day, because we were supposed to, after lunch, we were going to go
you can't.
to something else. And he was like, no, this should be a 2-day thing. They should break this into 2 different museums. And he had, art rage. So,
art rage. Yes, I've been there.
Right. So when you were a kid, though, that's what art was.
It was that kind of art. It was that traditional representational art. And then I went to Utah State University. So they started to challenge that idea of art. I started to learn about the guy with a colon full of paint in New York.
Right.
Which was scary. Like, really? That's what I'm supposed to do?
Because that's the
I'm not
new
up
art.
for that.
Right.
I mean, you know what I mean? I don't know what, I don't even want to put the paint in the colon, and once I did, I wouldn't know what to do with it. You know what I mean?
Right.
I wouldn't trust my decisions.
Your colon would know.
Yeah.
And
so art, I discovered after I got into art that it was very crazy, every bit as crazy as stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
And that art.
Oh, because it can be anything. Art.
Oh, absolutely.
By
anything.
definition.
Now it seriously can. I mean, art went through a huge, you see the art in the Renaissance, it was performing a function. It was plugged into the power structures. You paint
the government,
the church.
And the church, yeah.
It hadn't separated and had its own identity and said, now we're going to do our own thing. That's, see if I can remember my history, but I'm thinking really photography had a lot to do with the busting of it. Like, okay, now we're not just going to make images of things.
Right.
And then, right around the end of the 19th century, I guess, it is a slow progress from art. First, art was symbolic, really old stuff. It didn't look realistic, Jesuses and stuff.
Right.
Because Jesus wasn't supposed to be a man. That would be profane.
Right.
And then there was an artist named Giotto in Italy who made Jesus look Giotto. And he made Jesus look more human, which at first the priests were like, you're not supposed to do that, but the people loved it.
Right.
So he brought him down to earth, and then things got more and more representational, and things evolved. But I think the big break would be, with Cézanne.
Right.
Van Gogh.
I really do like Cézanne. Is that late
he's one of my favorites. Cézanne's late 1800s, early 1900s, I believe, if I'm remembering
right. Is that French Impressionism?
Yeah, French Impressionism.
Is that that thing with the French and the dots?
It is with the French, but he was more formal and classical. I would say from him we got abstract art. Okay. And the Impressionists was more about just seeing and color. It's really actually cold. Okay. When you think about it, they're breaking the visual experience into I see, it's seeing and light and color. It really is all Monet painting the haystacks over and over and over. Even though we always think of Monet as painting the flowers and the lilies, he was really almost a scientific cold approach to looking at the world through paint.
Oh, interesting.
And but then Gauguin was another one. He led to the branch of expressionism. Anyway, right around that turn of the century is when photography's dropped. Art isn't serving a function.
Right.
The individual voice of the artist starts to take over. I don't have to paint what the church wants. I paint what I want. Yeah. It's about individual. It's about that person. Okay. And then by that time,
and what they see.
Yes. And so now the artist, it's a whole different thing now. I mean, the artist is supposed to, like when I went to grad school, you go into your studio and you stare at a blank canvas and you say, what should I do? Right. I could do anything. I don't even have to use the canvas. Right. Well, at my school, you probably would. They would give you trouble. But. Right.
It's my nephew went to St. Olaf here in Minnesota and has an art degree. And he did it was interesting. He painted a whale on the side of the water tower, but they recognized his art. So, cause he was in this, it wasn't a graduate, I don't think it was a graduate program, it was undergrad. And they were like, yeah, that's going to cost you a couple $1,000s to paint that. And he was like, can I can I do a mural? Is there some way that I could work it off in a different way? Salmon's the guy who designed my Ranger of the Dork Forest t-shirt.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. So, I mean, I'm connected to people who know a little bit more about art, so I know a little bit about, and I like to go to museums, but I only last about an hour and a half.
A lot of it, first of all, once art started to leave representation and become abstract, sometimes you go to a museum and you literally just don't know what you're looking at. If you haven't been studying art, even as someone who studied art for a long time. Right.
What about the first time I ever went to Guggenheim in New York? As we went up the swirly stairs, it started getting more modern. Or that sort of, those paintings that are just a black.
Yeah, Clyfford Still.
Is that him?
He's one of them. He did.
Okay. There was one that is just a big black dot that's over sort of the right-hand side of the canvas.
Yeah. That could be various number of people. Yeah.
Yeah, it could be any number of people.
You don't get it. Literally, you're like, I don't understand.
And I said to Andy, here's where we lose me.
Yeah.
And then we have to go find something that matches my couch.
Yeah.
Because this doesn't make any sense to me. And Andy explained something called edge tension. And I was like, and I didn't know what edge tension was. He said that this guy, the guy who made this dot, was the first person who sort of examined the idea that our eye is drawn to the edge if there is something very close to the edge. And so much of the canvas is blank, but that black dot is right
over the edge. So you see how that's very cold, and he's really just isolating, exposing, examining these kinds of experience. And it's supposed to give you an impact. It's supposed to have a specific impact on you as a viewer and put you in a very specific place.
Okay.
That requires an eyewitness. That's my main judge for a painting. Like if art stopped being visual. It started getting really conceptual. You hear about these guys like, I'm going to stand on the stage, you shoot me.
Oh, right.
That was literally performance art started getting this way.
Yeah, I went to a bar in L.A. and there was a woman in a glass box.
Yeah.
She was kind of nude, but wearing like a sheet, like a diaphanous sheet over her. But she was also on her computer, and that was art.
Was it cool?
It was supposed to be.
But it wasn't you. It was like,
No, I'm unmoved. I'm 107,
so
and I don't care. It failed for me.
Failed.
Yeah,
it probably failed for a lot of people.
I mean,
I'm very suspicious of a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, because I'm just like, well, I hope you're paying your rent with this. And
I'm very suspicious of a lot of it because to me it went into this realm of philosophy.
Right.
Where I was almost like, why are you in the art department? Why don't you go over to the theater? Or why don't you go over to philosophy? Mm-hmm. Why did the art world, the visual art world, just go out and embrace every bastard child, that no.
Because it's on canvas, but it's also sculpture.
Yeah.
Right. And then there's performance art, which is in the art department, where it's a human person, a human being doing something that they are saying, I'm the art. I am the art.
Yeah. And it's supposed to come together and move me somehow. And
has that worked for you ever?
Every once in a while it will. I mean, sometimes I'll see I get it. That hits me.
Okay.
But I remember I'd been painting for quite a few years. I'd finished my grad program. I'd been painting for about 2 more years, a lot.
Yeah.
And I went with a friend of mine to the San Francisco Museum of Modern Art.
Okay.
We're walking around, and I got one floor, and there was some artist had a little kid's blanket that was kind of charred, and a little stuffed animal that was charred. And I remember I turned to my friend Paul. I said, I don't get it. And at first I felt like I'm missing something. I'm dumb. And then I remember I turned to Paul and said, no, can I swear on this show? That's bullshit. It is.
Yeah.
Because if I don't get it, and I've been doing it this long, there's nothing there. I'm not. Yeah. That is not cool. I should be able to get it.
Here's my thing. I think you totally got it and knew that it was bullshit.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, it's like, this is it.
You're
kidding me.
You know what you're telling me? You're telling me that you're an 11-year-old girl. And what you've done is you've written a suicide note with the line trailing at the end of it, like the last word.
It's that cheesy. It was that cheesy and dumb. And even if it was tongue in cheek, still not worth my time.
You and your ironic, irony art. I think that there is.
Oh yeah.
Do you think that there's a place for like, because Jackson Pollock, for example.
Oh, now that I like, yeah.
Now I don't always get it,
Yeah.
Because I don't see.
Yeah, I think you almost have to paint a lot to get it.
Okay.
Because then your eye is in tune with kind of the visual language that he's going.
Doing?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
So painting, opens you up to a sensitivity. Like I can look at, like, there's a guy named Robert Ryman. He does these white on white paintings. Yeah, I would look at them. They're not my favorite.
Right.
But I would look at them. It'd be interesting.
Because there's something there.
I can see it.
Okay.
But that's what arts, to me, they started painting for themselves and other artists.
Okay.
And it's almost like it's masturbating in the corner to a point where it's, look, the rest of the world doesn't even understand what you're doing.
Right. That's how I have a hard time watching Andy Kaufman. I'm just like,
it gets too. No.
Wow, I could watch you jerk off. I don't want to.
Yeah.
And, it just, I know that people appreciate it, but I never did. I liked him on that sitcom.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
and a couple of little things he did, I thought,
yes,
oh, that's funny.
The individual, like the Mighty Mouse thing, I loved.
Yeah.
But when he was essentially just trying my patience, just to see how long he could try my patience.
I don't want that.
No, I have people in my life to do that.
It's pretty gratuitous, really. I mean,
yeah, the self-absorption is almost complete at that point where I'm like, tink,
I'm
tink,
the same
tink.
way. I mean, I really believe some of it I've been amazed by, like, wow, what great choices you made.
Right.
And I've heard a description of a painting that I still want to see. Who was that painter? Anyway, what he did, I heard the painting, the person who saw it said he looked across the room and it was just like this iridescent black square.
Yeah.
He's like, wow, how did he make that? And he gets up close. This artist had taken the bodies of flies, thousands, and just covered the entire panel. Well, you know what? There's something there in the concept of it.
Yeah.
Of beauty and repulsion and...
Right, because your first thing is like, ooh, gross. And then you're like, no, I get why that would be
gorgeous.
iridescent.
Yeah, and so everything came together, and the artist explained that to me. I keep forgetting the artist's name.
Right.
It's very famous. And I'm like, good one. I would like to look at that. I would like to see that in person.
Right.
But if you can describe the piece to me, and I don't need to see it,
interested?
No, if you describe it and I don't need to see it, then why should I witness this thing?
Right.
Now it's not.
Yeah, close enough.
See, a lot of the modern visual art for me, it leaves me. Some of it really works, and some of it I think it becomes a vehicle for pretension. It literally does.
Yeah.
Like you stand around, act like you get it, so other people come up, you get it? Yeah, I get it.
Which is the caricature of art sometimes, where
hipster kind of crap.
Like some of the old 60s movies with Doris Day and Elvis Presley, or they end up being at some beatnik party where people are just looking at, it's a pole, and it's got like two stripes horizontal on it, and you're like, do you get it, man?
And it's groovy.
It represents, our solidarity with the origin of man or whatever.
This comes and I'm
right.
Like,
Nope. That's a stick with a couple of paintings on it. And you may have meant something more by it, but I'm going to need some paperwork to go with that to explain.
And then you get the paperwork and say, why did I ask
why
for
didn't
this
you
crap?
write a short story?
This I don't need. Yeah.
Yeah.
I got that with my art, actually.
Yeah? Because some people...
The picture, I was representational, and I started building these narratives. Mm-hmm. And it became almost as much about the story I was building visually.
Yeah.
I remember one day thinking, why am I not just writing?
Yeah.
Why? I'm using the wrong medium. I shouldn't be doing a painting.
Right. Because what if it's something you want to paint, and then it leads into a story? I mean, that'd be kind of neat. Yeah. Right?
Yeah, and it's...
And then you've illustrated your own short story,
and off it comes. And then, and also, maybe I'm trying to say I'm pursuing a narrative, and while I'm trying to paint that, I end up with this image that is arresting and unique, and you got to see it to experience it, and it hits you and moves you. Well, then that's fine. Who cares? I don't care how you got to that place. Do it again.
Yeah.
Cool. It's unique,
and
it's self-justifying.
Right.
In the fact that it moves. The viewer,
it
connects.
Works. Yeah. If it works, it's not broken. Yeah. There's nothing to add to it. There's no reason to go anywhere else. Yeah. That's interesting. When I was probably 21 years old, I lived in Provincetown, Massachusetts for either 2 or 3 summers. I was very drunk. I cannot remember. But
it's 2 or 3. So you're 1 year off.
I'm a year off. I think it was only, I genuinely cannot remember whether it was 2 or 3 summers, but someone else probably can. The Jenny Bergman, West Side Kids, New York City. She was with me, so she could probably remember, but she might not be able to because she goes every summer. And so
it's just a blur for her anyway.
Well, yeah, for her it is not alcoholism. She needs to see the ocean or something.
Oh, okay.
But it is an art town. Provincetown, Massachusetts was an art colony, sort of like Key West. It was where everybody went in the summer, and then they go down to Key West in the winter. And it was people who collected art. And would have they would hire these like the benevolent patrons would say, well, I have a little house in Truro. Why don't you go paint there? And then thus those Cape Cod cottage paintings would occur, right?
That's what kept happening. Okay.
Robert Motherwell?
Oh, Motherwell was up there?
Yeah. Do you know that guy?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Because that was where I heard of him, because he painted a lot of his stuff up there.
Huh.
And
his series. Okay.
Probably. Jenny she's an art historian, my friend, Jenny Bergman. And she worked at one of the galleries that sold art. And so I was like, well, teach me about art. And there was one side of town that had all sort of the real, where it was individual pieces. And then the other side of town had, Elvis on black velvet.
Junk.
Yeah, it had junk and stuff that she was the one who coined the term for me. I mean, I'm sure it's been coined to other art that matches your furniture.
Yeah.
And
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so she introduced me to like Motherwell and Hockney.
Oh, yeah.
And I didn't know anything about, like, I like those guys because they're kind of realistic. They're totally.
There is a figurative. Well, Hockney, definitely.
Yeah, Hockney.
But even Motherwell, the way he makes that thing, it's.
Yeah, it's.
It accesses your sense of the world and gravity and all those things.
And does Hockney do sort of a collage-y kind of thing with photos?
He's done all sorts of things, but how would I put it? It's figurative, but it's not representational in a realistic photographic way.
Okay. But I don't think you need to paint to appreciate those guys.
No, I agree. They're accessible. I mean, they work for me. They've done it.
Yeah. Because I would love to be able, because there's part of me that wants to paint, that wants to do art. Obviously, it's the same part of me that wants to act, that doesn't.
Oh, yeah.
Because people who want to paint, turns out they paint.
Yeah. People used to say, I wish I could do that. And I was thinking, but I don't think you wish that hard. You know what I mean?
It's like people who say, I want to do stand-up comedy. You're like, do you? Yes, just go do it then.
Yeah.
No?
With art, too, it's like, well, do you wish 4 or 5 hours a day? Every week of the year?
Yeah.
Because then you'd be painting.
Because then you would be painting.
Yeah.
Because that's what it is, I suppose.
And in the end, it is. I mean, it's just immersing yourself in what you're doing and really engaging yourself honestly with the task at hand. Trying to make this thing that is, your art. You're real. You're really engaged with it. You're not faking it or just trying to come up with a neat effect or something cool, or you're really...
When you look at a blank canvas, how do you start? I mean, I suppose that question has been asked probably a gajillion times.
Yeah. Because right from the beginning, it goes, I used to, when I teach, I say you'd make one mark on the canvas and it's still perfect.
Yeah. But
the next mark, now there's a problem because those two marks sit in a certain angle to each other and to the sides of that canvas. Now the third mark, so you get down the fourth, fifth mark, it gets so...
It's ruined. It's ruined.
Start no longer over. Good. I give up.
Well, that is your great... I mean, because if you think about it, you're like, let's say I want to paint a horse. A Palomino horse named Star. No, I don't care. It's what...
Name is immaterial.
Immaterial, because I just want to... But if I want to paint a horse, do I paint it? What do I do with, that's the whole thing where the decision process is so much bigger than my mind.
It's huge. It's not just description now. You can, that's one way to go.
Yep.
You could do a representational. You could take it from that place.
Right.
But you could paint about horse. You could, what are you going to?
Right.
You do sculpture. I mean, it's unlimited.
And it's unlimited as to where that horse is. Like, if I'm doing a realistic painting of a horse, because my father also he paints. He does acrylics.
Oh, okay.
And he paints stuff that should be $19.99 on the side of the road. Because,
really?
Yeah, it's like, he'll do a canyon. It'll be a rock face with a pine forest below, and there'll be an eagle.
Yeah.
So he's got...
I love that stuff.
Well, and... he loves doing them. And it's not, it's one step above paint by numbers because he has to, there's some skill there because he has to make it look like a pine tree.
He gets involved and it draws him in.
Right. And it kills 4 or 5 hours in a day.
That's mine kind of turned into that. Like the last few paintings, I almost felt like, you got involved in the process of describing this space and trying to find a very particular sense to this thing and to touch this painting so it works. But in the end of the day, I didn't have an overriding idea or something going on, I don't think. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, so
It's so hard to get... it's hard.
I mean, every day if you start, and then at the end of the day, do you ever just look at it and go, well, I guess this day didn't work?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Or you think, wow, what a great day. And you come in the morning, you look at it and go, oh, this is shit. That would happen all the time.
That's, and it's different in comedy because you get an instant reaction from an audience.
That's what I loved about comedy, especially going from fine art, this world that had all boundaries exploded. I mean, who knows what right or wrong or good or bad is anymore? I mean, it's...
Oh, right.
Even
when you were
my own
studying,
faculty who you go to this really good art school for graduate school and they're supposed to be the know-alls of all the sages, and they're arguing not only amongst themselves but really arguing with other experts across the... I mean, they look at the same thing. It's a masterpiece. It's shit.
Right.
It's a masterpiece. No, it's literally, it's shit. He shit in a can.
Right, but it
literally
speaks to me as that can, he used a Puerto Rican coffee can, first of all.
And then
he took a dump in it.
Goes.
And you're just like,
Have you ever read David Sedaris's essay
on
being a performance artist?
No, I don't think
Gotta read it.
Gotta read it. What's it called?
Got to read it. Which one is that one in? I think that's in Me Talk Pretty. Maybe it's in...
Okay. If it's in Me Talk Pretty one day, I've read it.
Barrel Fever? Is it in...
I didn't like Barrel Fever as much.
Which one was it in? Anyway, it's one of my favorite all-time essays of his. I was rolling on the floor.
And it was just about performance
He really
art.
was a performance. He went into performance art for a while.
Okay.
He said performance art and crystal meth. Any one by itself, destructive, but combined, and oh man, that's one of my all-time favorite. Funny.
That, Andy did some performance art. He was in another guy's performance art piece, and it was a 24-hour UCLA. It was Andy was the minute hand.
What?
Yeah. The guy was the hour hand, and they had to stand in the quad.
Did they flip for that? Because the minute hand is doing a lot more work.
Right,
I'm just
Andy
saying
had to
the hour
work
just kind of standing there.
You're standing there for an hour, and then you're click.
Andy's like running circles.
Exactly. And he said, this guy came over. This guy he knew came over and was talking to him, and every 60 seconds, Andy had to take a step. And he said, 7 minutes into the conversation with this guy, the guy goes, "Hey, do I smell or something? Because you keep backing up."
What do you say at that point? No, I'm the minute hand.
I'm the minute hand. I'm doing some art. And I was like, well, how was that received? He said, nobody knew we were doing it.
Yeah.
And I said, well, how did that make it more art or less artful?
Yeah.
And he was like, I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you. And is it art if nobody notices it? Yes, I think it can be.
I mean, and that's one thing too. It's like, well, it's art. Yeah, shitty art. So
right,
what?
It's art that nobody gave a damn
we don't
about.
Care.
Right.
And so many, I think that journey to try to find art with meaning. I mean, you want this thing powerful and meaningful. Now, to me, it's almost a cop-out. People will latch their art onto the social cause of the day. Well, I paint about racism or sexism. Well, good for you. Because those things are meaningful without your little contribution.
Right. You didn't need to paint Harriet Tubman on top of a white elephant.
Yeah, guess what? Mm-hmm. And that always bothers me too, when they think they have to piggyback something with meaning. No. A great painting will have meaning regardless. It justifies itself by its own existence.
That's hard though, because
art,
I mean, if you go like when you see, I don't know who did the famous The Last Supper.
Oh, Da Vinci.
Da Vinci. That's a name I should know. Yeah. And but you think about it and you're like, well, that guy, I mean, what's an example of a Da Vinci piece that isn't political? Because he lived in a political time. And
true.
All of his art was meant to be some sort of political moment.
Yeah, it's true. And within those confines of religion, politics, he would create and end up with a self-justified, a
piece
beautiful
of art.
Thing that was unique. That's, wow, look at that.
Yeah.
There's one in the Uffizi. There's a Da Vinci that's an Annunciation, I think. It's fantastic. I thought it was gorgeous.
And it's religious, but it's not But by
It's true.
itself, it's just its own
By
thing.
itself, the shapes, the colors, the way it's composed, the way it's arranged, and the way it's made is all just,
Right.
it's unique and powerful and sticks around. And you know,
Yeah.
did you notice that in the Uffizi, you walk around, and then suddenly you hit one like, wow, what is it about this one? This is,
I mean, and it's a room of geniuses.
yeah,
It's a room of geniuses, and one genius sticks out.
yeah, who's the super genius.
Right, who's the super
That
genius.
was like with Botticelli. I mean, I thought his were amazing, and then you could see all the artists trying to paint like Botticelli. And they couldn't do it. I mean, I was watching, no, you didn't do it.
Yeah.
The other thing I noticed in the Uffizi, I mean, it was Kelly. She's Catholic. So this is her art, the Catholic art. This is our art. You do those crappy paintings. And,
are you going to paint those gold tablets that you guys lost? You going to paint about those?
yes, we have actually. Lots of
As a
paintings
matter
of,
of fact,
Joseph Smith getting the tablets.
Exactly. Oddly enough.
Yeah, tons. So I'm in there, and you will see, you saw it, cherubim everywhere.
Yeah.
Cherubim, which is naked
Little boys.
toddler angels. I think, how did we not see these priests coming?
Right.
You really didn't you when you think of it?
I have to tell you that this is one of my favorite stories about the nightmare that is Last Comic Standing, right? Is we did it here at Acme.
Yeah.
And Kathleen Madigan, Alonzo Bowden, and Ant have you in front of them.
Yeah, they drilled me.
And you came off the stage and you said, okay, so they said to me, you're Mormon. There's no way it's all happy-go-lucky stand-up comedy. You don't do anything dark. And you're like, I do dark.
Yeah, oh, that was awful. Why did they do it? It was weird.
You said, and they said, okay, well, do you have a Hitler joke?
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah. It was just some dark, well, yeah, and it was so awkward.
Right, and it was, allow me to tell your story for you,
yeah.
you. You're like, no, I don't have a Hitler joke, but I have a dark joke. And then you told the darkest joke in the world about when you and your wife were arguing.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's an awesome joke.
They looked at me like, oh.
Too dark. And you're like, you can't ask for a dark joke.
Yeah, what do you do? You set me up. Yeah.
Right, and it was essentially our pedophiles marry their victims. Was that the punchline?
Yeah, the wife was,
you were arguing about how to raise the kid, Mormon or Catholic.
Yeah.
And it got heated.
Yeah.
And you, at one point...
I said, what about the priests? And she said, what about your 60-year-old men?
Yep.
Marrying 14-year-old girls. And said, well, at least our pedophiles marry their victims.
Exactly. Which is super dark and awesome.
And they did not like it.
They did not enjoy it. And you were like, well, then you're hypocrites.
Yeah.
And not okay.
Well, I said that to myself, but mostly I just kind of
You just sort of stood there and just died a little bit, as per usual.
Walked off like, dang it.
Damn bastards.
Yeah.
Because there's so much rejection in stand-up comedy that you don't want to talk about because you're like, well, if I talked about it every time, I would talk of nothing else.
Yeah.
And it's not that bad. I mean, eventually you become inured to it where you're like, oh, well, they didn't get me.
I lost it.
I get it.
Okay, I get it.
Yeah, I didn't get that. Okay. Yeah. Next. And
yeah, exactly. You kind of have to get to that point.
But I would wonder about art with that, where you're just like, if you have a bad day painting.
Yeah.
How do you get back on that horse?
There is a point, especially if you invest yourself in a piece. Let's say you're painting, and you've got hours into this thing, and then it just hits you that this is bad and wrong and not working.
Yeah.
You have to not fall in love with that thing you're doing.
You gotta let it go?
You cannot love it. You have to be able to destroy it.
Really?
Yes, you must be able to, nope, destroy it.
You gotta call it.
Mm-hmm. It can't rule you, because otherwise, if it does, you're not going to have the power to do what you need to do.
Which is the next
piece. To create it, or to fix where you are in the piece.
Huh.
It's always a process of...
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't... Fear, it will kill you every time.
Yeah. I think that's true in general.
Absolutely. Fear kills you. Right?
Yeah.
You're done.
There's a new, the last big Marvel comic book arc was called Fear Itself.
Oh.
And it had such promise. It was actually quite, and parts of it nailed it and other parts of it didn't. Much like all of those giant crossovers where dozens of authors are writing different things and they all intertwine and some people nail it and some people don't. That's how I sort of gotten back into arts to some extent is with all this comic book reading I'm doing.
Yeah.
Because I've started to recognize the names of the artists. And because initially it was just all writers. Huh. Initially, before that, it was characters. I was like, what's Spider-Man doing?
Right.
And, or whatever, Oh, we're going to read Daredevil. Okay. So,
and now it's about the writing.
And now it's about the writers
and the artists.
And now I'm getting to know some of the artists. So I can't name any of them. The only artist that I've actually gotten excited about is a guy named Kyle Baker, he did the art. He has a couple of books of just his family art, and they're those giant kind of family circus kind of one panel cartoons about his family. And to say family circus and Kyle Baker, it's a giant disservice.
Okay.
Yeah, because he is so much smarter and funnier than the nightmare of, look, Mommy, God is sweating. Yeah, it's just a freaking nightmare. But Kyle Baker,
Kyle Baker, I've never... I've looked at some of this stuff.
Right.
My daughter, my daughter...
Your older daughter?
My older daughter.
Okay.
She is 18, living in Madison right now.
Madison, Wisconsin.
Way into the comic books, graphic novels, and all that stuff.
So she's seeing all that art.
And she's been pushing it on me. You got to read this.
Mm-hmm.
Understanding Comics. Have you ever read that?
I did read that.
Fantastic.
That was an amazing book.
Great book for just understanding art.
Right. It was really an art history,
It really was.
Yeah.
That's art history. I mean, some of the stuff in there is like, oh, I wish I would have had this when I was
you were
trying
going
to
to school.
sort my stupid head out.
Right. It is fascinating. And is that something, I mean, the thing is you could do it, with your art training and with your comedy training, you could create comics.
I think if I jumped into it and loved it, and obsessed over it, I think I actually could, but I won't because I guess I'm not obsessed with it.
Right. You would have to become obsessed with it.
I think so.
And you're not dead. You got years ahead of you.
You
could get obsessed with it.
Pick up a healthy obsession for a change. That'd be good.
Something new.
Yeah.
Something new that in your copious amounts of free time.
Yes, that's right. With the baby.
With the baby.
What am I doing?
Oh my gosh. Because the two younger children, how old are they? Over in Germany.
10 months and 6 years.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I
know.
18,
10 months
6
old
years,
baby.
10-month-old baby.
46-year-old man.
Wow. That's, you know what that is? That's a hard hip to raise that kid. Boy kid?
Hard hip is true.
Is it 3 girls? What do you got?
Girl. 10-month-old is girl.
And the 6-year-old's a boy. There you go.
And then my daughter, girl. Of course.
Like to check in with the demographics of everybody's lives,
good.
Obviously.
Want to know.
Just how the breeding's going along.
Yeah.
That's nice work. Nice work.
Yeah. I'm curious like that too.
Yeah. So it's, but Kyle Baker he did the art on the Black Captain America story.
Oh, okay.
Which, I thought he wrote it for a while. That's how powerful it was. And then he wrote and drew this thing, a Plastic Man series. And it was so silly and smart and interesting about Plastic Man. Because Plastic Man, I mean, the only thing Plastic Man could do is look like plastic things.
Oh, that's it? Like he could
he can stretch kind of like the Fantastic Four guy.
He'd have to be a big toothbrush, I assume.
He'd be a giant toothbrush. He'd have to, he usually ends up being like the linoleum on the floor.
Is that his go-to? Linoleum kunk.
Right. Or like a card table. And so it was, or at least in Kyle Baker's Plastic Man, he's always something weird.
So he's just walking around like lamp, and then
all of a sudden he's a door, or he is,
How does that serve? Just so that the bad guys can't catch him?
Right, like he can overhear things. Right.
So that's it. He just runs around, turns into a...
Right. Well, and then he can encase them in plastic until the cops get there. But
so he goes in and he turns himself into like a hotel safe.
Right. A man-sized safe. And then Dick Cheney walks in, and then all of a sudden he squeezes him.
Yeah.
And so Kyle Baker did that, and then he wrote, and he can, like, right now he's drawing a Deadpool. It's an adult comic strip, so there's swearing in it, and there's a lot of
sexual
boobs.
Stuff.
Yeah, but nothing
Sex and violence.
Sex and violence, but pretty not. The violence is much worse but he did do an amazing series called Special Forces. It was based on a real story where, remember when recruitment was down? And they weren't getting their quota of recruitment kids to join the service.
Yeah.
And so they actually recruited an autistic kid. And the parents protested, and it ended up they released the guy from his
an autistic soldier.
Yeah, it would have been
severe autism.
Yeah, like a relatively.
That's not good.
That would be bad. So the Special Forces thing that Kyle Baker wrote about was about if that kid went to war.
Yeah, well.
And it was kind of amazing because what happened was every day the sergeant would give the autistic kid a list of what they had to achieve that day. You know, he's like, bathe, brush your teeth, eat breakfast.
The whole thing. He had
whole thing. And he would draw it out. And then in the day that we follow in this guy's life, the job is we have to take this town, or we have to.
And the autistic boy is with him to take the town.
Yeah. And so the autistic boy, it's the story of how the entire troop is wiped out, but it's him and this one woman who in every issue, in every panel, is wearing less and less clothing until she's dressed like, you know, She-Ra.
She's in a war zone in just a daisy maze.
A helmet.
And a helmet. Yeah.
And lacy underpants and a bra.
Open, plunging neckline, Kevlar vest.
And just nipple caps with Kevlar. Who knows what they are. But I mean, just ridiculous. And the kid, who is, I forget the name of the kid, is just, they call him something like single-minded or whatever. I mean, they call him like whatever, some sort of autistic reference. And she's just trying to get him to bail on the, cause everybody's dead. And she's like, we gotta go.
Just leave. Just give it up.
We'll do it again tomorrow. And he's like, no, we gotta.
I have to check off number 7, 8, 9, and 10. Right. I can't leave.
And so she's like, oh, crap. And so she has to follow him and she's like, and so we get to hear the history of this kid. I mean, it's an amazing comic book if you ever get a chance. It's a graphic novel called Special Forces by Kyle Baker.
I'll have to ask my daughter if she's read that one.
And the art on it is, I mean, and this Deadpool Max that he's doing, he draws very specific, there's kind of loosey-goosey, cartoony, but he's dark, man. He can draw more realistically, and he did for Captain America, the Black Captain America story it was called Truth. And it was about how they, tested the Captain America serum in a Tuskegee Institute kind of situation.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
And the Truth story is about how Steve Rogers didn't know this story. The white Captain America, Captain America.
Yeah, okay.
And how he discovers it and he goes to visit. And he discovers it because the Black Captain America's grandson is Patriot in the Young Avengers.
Oh, it all comes together.
It all comes together. There's
every time.
We can retcon that, my friends.
Yeah.
We'll do some continuity issues. I have digressed into comic books.
Well, I knew that was going to happen. I was prepared.
Take it back. Take it back to art.
Back to art. Well, it is art.
What are your favorite museums that you've been to?
The Uffizi is definitely.
Oh, Uffizi.
Oh, yeah.
Have you been to the Louvre?
I didn't go to the Louvre. It was too big, so I've been to the Musée d'Orsay and l'Orangerie. Those are Paris.
Paris?
And I love Monet's water lily paintings. That stuff is amazing.
In real life, just to see it?
Yeah, it's just crazy. I haven't been to Amsterdam yet. I can't wait to get there to see the Van Gogh stuff.
Oh, right.
And I love the Pompidou. The Pompidou.
Where's that?
That's Paris.
Okay.
It's they're modern.
Okay.
And it had a conceptual visual artist that was fantastic. His name was Orozco. I was there with my daughter, and we loved it. It was just crazy great stuff.
Was it multimedia?
Yeah, multimedia stuff. Like he would take it was weird how he could change the meaning and context with them, just the way he did things. Like he took part of his pieces, he would just take socks. This is a tube sock.
Yeah.
Shove clay in the sock.
Right.
Just push it, and then just kind of pinch it off.
Right.
And then take the sock off that clay. So you would have that imprint of the sock over the clay. And they just felt like these animals. When you saw them at first, it's like an animal. So your head would switch between, it's an animal or a slug. It's a tube sock. And then your head would go back, animal, slug, tube sock. So this was one of these kind of conceptual visual things that totally worked for me. I was really blown away. His photographs are great. Because
there's so much of it that doesn't work.
Yeah.
You want so badly for it to work.
You do.
And then it does.
And when it does, it's like, this is great. But some of them I'm convinced, like I said, the little blanket with the teddy bear, like, nope, this is BS.
Right.
I'm calling it BS.
I have been handed a bill of goods.
I don't get it. I'm a figurative artist. Maybe I wouldn't, but my friend with me was awesome abstract painter named Paul Pollock, lives in New Hampshire. Now, if he doesn't get it,
right,
and I don't get it, we have these different. I'm sorry, you've missed it. We should get it. We've been.
Does he have a website, Paul Pollock? How do you spell Pollock?
I don't think he has a website. Pollaro.
I will try to put them in the notes if I find them.
Paul Polaro. Yeah. Went to
Just
grad school.
abstract.
Beautiful.
Beautiful work.
Oh, yeah.
That's neat.
Yeah.
What about in the United States? What's your favorite? Are there
in the
museums? Yeah.
I guess I really just Washington, D.C., I would say. Go to D.C.,
Really?
the National Gallery, or New York. I mean, you go...
Yeah,
New
you
York,
could go to
the
Guggenheim
Mets
and the Met.
Yeah, that's
the Met's too big,
spectacular.
though. I get...
Oh,
What do
I
you
loved
do?
it.
What would you
Oh.
recommend if I walked into the Met? Where would you tell me to go?
You can go anywhere. I mean, the last time I
Do I
went
have
there...
to go through the Egyptian?
No.
I
No
can't
kidding.
possibly.
I can't keep looking at this.
I can't keep looking at mummies.
I found that, like, if I'm going there, and I had an art professor tell me this once, and I agree now, like, you're not going to be able to look at everything.
Yeah.
So just kind of go in, pick kind of an area, and then the first
Really
one that
look at
hits
it.
you, just sit down and take it in and enjoy it. It's like you don't go to a restaurant, I'll take everything on the menu, I'm only here this weekend.
Right,
you just
right.
can't.
Yeah, that's a great analogy.
So go in kind of open and wait for one to grab you, and then
yeah.
take a ride.
Take a ride and then come back
Go
a
home,
week
maybe
later.
look it up. You can look it up in books and find out a little about the artists and look at more stuff they do. And
Well, when I travel with Maria, she likes to get out of the hotel room. God bless her.
Yes.
Since I will watch an NCIS marathon or a Burn Notice marathon for no reason.
no, there's a reason for that. Good reason.
Just try to chill out.
Yeah.
But we were in Erie, Pennsylvania, and they have an art museum in the tiny town of Erie, Pennsylvania. $4 to get in.
What was that?
They had
Wyeth's?
what?
Wyeth's?
Wyeths. What are those?
Andrew Wyeth's.
Oh,
He's up in PA area, I thought maybe.
Oh, okay.
But who did that?
They have, like, they might have had that. They might have had some local art. I think that they did. But they also had, like, weird things like they had Japanese woodcut,
Oh, fantastic.
but 3 of them. I mean, they only had a couple of each item, right? They had a Van Gogh drawing.
Oh, did they?
Yeah. So the stuff that they had was gorgeous.
Yeah.
But it was tiny.
Yeah,
Because it's a small town. That's
Yeah.
all they can afford. But God bless them. They had something. And, like, have you ever been to the Milwaukee Art Museum?
Mm-mm.
It's a lot bigger now, but when I was a kid, it was much smaller, but it was like a boutique. It's like having a boutique dog. It's like having a tiny, very specialized animal.
Well, we got this.
We got this, and what we have is we have one Van Gogh, and we have one Cezanne, and we have,
and that's usually the case.
and that's fine, I think,
It's
to some
something.
extent. It's something where you get to see,
But I mean,
see
if you want to
something
see
pretty.
something great in Milwaukee, you get in the car and you drive to Chicago. You do. Because that museum's amazing.
the Chicago Art Museum is?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Really?
Art Institute. Yeah, that museum in Chicago is fantastic. That's
All
one of
right.
the best around.
Oh, okay. That's a
Mm-hmm.
great one. Okay.
There's some Picassos in there that are crazy, and there's a Magritte. There's some great stuff in there.
Okay. I've heard of a greet. I know I've seen some
Magritte.
Magritte.
Yeah.
What's egret, I wonder?
I don't
think
know.
it's an animal.
I have no idea.
I think I'm thinking of the egret,
Oh, the aigrette. Those are beautiful, too.
but it is not a Magritte, Jackie.
Nope.
Magritte, what kind of stuff?
Surrealism.
It's surrealism.
He was surrealism.
Okay.
I like him better than a lot of
Who's the guy
surrealists.
with the dripping clock?
Dolly. I was never a big fan of Dolly.
I almost said dripping cock.
Oh, you did?
Yikes.
I'm
I'll
not
be
a
over
big
here.
fan of that either, actually.
I'm against it myself.
Yeah.
And
Oh, the way you said that.
there
I'm
went the
against it
E
myself.
rating.
Whoops.
Hi, kids, if
Yeah.
you've been listening.
Oh, darn it. Yeah. Does
That's
that ruin
fine.
it?
No,
you
it
can cut
doesn't.
it out.
I can. I could fix it in post. I won't.
Oh, okay.
Because I think it's funny.
Yeah.
So I'm going to leave it.
Stumbled into it.
We stumbled into it. I say it's a go. But, yeah, so you like Picasso?
Yeah. I mean, I really, sometimes I'll look at it, I'm not quite sure. He painted so much.
Right.
But some of them, it took me a while of learning and having other artists like, no, look. And then, oh, yeah, that's
What do you think about
amazing.
that? What do you think about, because I don't mind that when someone points out something in a painting or in a piece of art
Oh,
to
yeah.
say, here's what you're not seeing.
Oh, I
or
like
here's
that.
what you may not be. Yeah, I like
love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, if they get all bossy Magoo on me where they're just, you're not seeing it right,
Yeah,
that's less
yeah,
positive.
that's just-
But if they say, you may not be.
Here's something that maybe yeah.
Yeah. Like, look, what do you think of that? What do you think of the art in my hotel room here at the Marriott?
Talking about
Town
edge
Place?
tension, see that white
Yeah.
of that building on the left. That's an uncomfortable cropping, and then see how it touches the mat up at the top.
Yep.
Now, what that's going to do is going to see that white left shape.
The
That
left
flattens the
upside?
image out. That flattens the image out.
What does?
having
it so
those
close?
things touch right on the edge like that.
Oh, yeah.
It can be a tension thing.
Now, do you think that that's a matting problem? Or
It's
do
a
you
matting. I think someone just didn't know what they were doing when they matted that photograph.
Because they should have left a little more edge on that?
I think so.
Yeah?
I think that was a mistake on that one.
What do you think that these are obviously photographs of, isn't that the Milwaukee building?
It's got to be Minneapolis. Is that, I don't know.
The Milwaukee building, which is, for some reason, a building called Milwaukee.
Oh, here?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. It's got, or I call it the Milwaukee building because
okay.
see, it says Milwaukee on it.
well, if they put the word on there.
That's why I would call it that. That's why I would do that. What about this other one right here? This seems to be a snowy
Scene.
Oh, I know.
Photography.
That's Washington. That's Washington Avenue.
Oh.
Old-timey Washington Avenue
it is.
shot.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
it's a photograph.
everyone's wearing hats. Granted, it's winter.
That
but
one person's crossing the road.
Right. This woman is wearing a dress, which makes me think it's more like the 30s or 40s or something.
Yeah.
20s. Who knows?
This looks like a photo from The Shining. It's always black and white. You know what I mean? And then
Right.
those are dead people we're looking at.
Right, and all of a
Weird.
sudden, a slash of red appears. In the night. Guess what? I have to sleep in this room. Let's stop.
Okay,
And,
okay. You're a ghost hunter type. Okay.
I am not. I am not a ghost
no.
hunter.
Okay.
What's the Mormons stand on ghosts?
I guess they believe in them.
Oh, do they?
Some Mormons do. I guess they would believe in ghosts.
Oh,
they
mostly
definitely
just-
believe in spirits.
Right, because they're Americans, or
Yeah, they're just-
it's not
I
a
don't
Mormon
know.
thing to believe in ghosts. It might be just
I think
a
they
human
believe in
thing.
spirits and evil spirits.
Let's talk Catholic versus Mormon these last 4 minutes.
Okay, cool.
The Holy Ghost.
Yeah.
You guys got the Trinity? You got that going on?
Mormonism has a trinity, but they're separate entities. God the Father,
Yep.
Jesus Christ, and the Holy Ghost are three separate entities. God the Father and Jesus have bodies.
Like
and so
Odin.
does Jesus. Like
Yeah.
a body. Holy Ghost, no. Just a spirit personage.
Casper.
Kind of like Casper.
Okay.
But with the capability.
You never think Casper? Whenever ghosts come up, I always think Casper for some reason.
No, that makes sense. That
I want a
makes
friendly
sense.
ghost. That's why.
Yeah.
Possibly why.
And he spreads. He can expand and touch everybody's heart at the same time, and
Okay. Oh, so the Holy Ghost are positive things.
it's pretty. Yeah.
How about in Catholicism? Any idea?
Well, I know they're one, but they're three, but they're one. You know
Oh,
what
so
I mean? They're the
in
three and the
Mormonism,
one.
they're three, but they're three.
Yeah.
Right, but
They don't do-
Catholicism, they're three, but they're one.
Catholicism, Nicene Creed. What year was that? 370 something AD.
Right.
They had a meeting and said, "This is the way it's going to be."
Right. Oh, that's right. They had that big meeting where they're like, let's make a decision about
Council
this.
of Nicaea. or
Right.
whatever.
The Armenians couldn't make that.
No, they were not invited.
We might not have been. I think we rose Hydra-like from a separate head of the. We had our own apostles, you know.
They did.
Thaddeus and Bartholomew came to Armenia and
Converted everybody.
converted everybody from sun worshippers to the Son of God. And we were the first. And some people will say this in a positive way. I'll just say it as a fact. The country of Armenia was the first country to have Christianity as its national religion.
Really?
I.e., if you were not Christian and lived in Armenia,
Oops.
yeah, trouble.
Really?
Yeah.
They were the first.
Yeah,
to
rhymes with
start.
T.
Boy, well, you really started something there.
We got something. What it is talk about a country of bossy magoos. But, I mean, everybody was doing it at the time.
Oh, no, yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I think every country said, well, this is our national religion.
Yeah.
We were the first ones to go, we're going to take the new one.
Well, I think that is how we got races and countries, really, when you think about it. It took an asserted effort for people to get together and kill everyone who's different.
Oh, right. Who doesn't want to do that?
So, in other words, racism gave us diversity in a weird sense. But nature gives us diversity, too. I don't know if that's true, but
That's from Jurassic Park.
I am talking out my butt.
Right.
That's what I do.
Okay. Well, it's been an hour. Let's get a couple of recommendations.
Sweet.
Understanding Comics.
Understanding Comics.
That's not a bad art book for
I think
people.
that is a fantastic
For
book
start.
to understand just kind of art.
Right.
And basically how it works. And
Right. Is there
great book.
You got anything lighter?
Oh, that's
Not
true.
lighter.
But that book is actually
It's quite
pretty
dense.
heavy.
It is a little dense.
Now that's about as light. Honestly, that's one of the best books I've read for someone who's like, how does this
art?
What's the difference between abstraction and representation and expression?
Yeah.
I mean, the way he explained those three things I thought was brilliant. It's a great book.
It is a great book.
Other stuff for understanding art, I don't do.
And then that book you're reading right now, why don't you tell them about it, since the waitress we had at breakfast
I
was
left
really...
it in Eric's car,
Did you really?
but he's going to bring it to me.
It's
so I can't read it. The moon, east moon, the moon.
Summer moon?
Summer moon. Summer moon of the west. What is it? Moon.
It's about the
Comanches.
It's about the Comanches, and it was a Pulitzer-nominated book.
Yes, and it's fantastic.
And it'll be in the notes.
Yes,
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you again for tuning into another The Dork Forest. Take care.
My hat, my hat, my hat. They're dancing around my hat. My hat, my hat, my hat. Well, what do you think of that? If it looks like a Mexican hat dance and it sounds like a Mexican hat dance, it's most likely a Mexican hat dance. So take off your hat and let's dance.
Yay! Oh my God. Why don't we just call that as the end of the show?